Our next episode is called The Price. It's episode number 56 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and it originally aired on November 11th, 1989. It was written by Hannah Louise Shearer and directed by Robert Shearer. And plot-wise with this episode, the Enterprise is orbiting Barzan 2, which is the site of a wormhole, for those of you who aren't familiar with that. Hopefully most of you watching these TNG reviews are, but it's a tunnel through the fabric of space. And normally the ends of these tunnels are unstable and constantly shifting in position, but in this case both the ends appear to be fixed, and the far side of the wormhole is on the other side of the galaxy. So that distance would normally take the Enterprise nearly a century to get through on its own. Now, using the Barzan wormhole, the ship could make the same journey in seconds. Now, since they lack the technology necessary to exploit this resource, the Barzan are taking bids for the management of the wormhole, and in the process they hope to gain financial security for themselves. So the negotiations are going to take place on the Enterprise, and several interested parties show up, including the Ferengi and the Chrysalian delegate Devanani Rao. Now, to establish that both sides of the wormhole are truly stable, Picard decides to send a shuttle with Data and LaForge into the wormhole to investigate. This could be a constant criticism throughout the series, but if you're unsure whether a wormhole is stable, would you really want to risk your chief engineer and Commander Data to do this? But I digress on that point. A romance begins between Ral and Troi, and during that, Ral actually reveals that he, like Troi, is empathic, which is not a problem for Troi, of course, but as Ral uses his empathic skills to sense the emotions of the other negotiators and use this to his advantage, Troi becomes pretty dismayed about that and unhappy with his use of that. Now, meanwhile, Data and LaForge exit the wormhole in the wrong place, and of course they're disturbed by this and they head back. But by this time, Ral has eliminated all the competition except the Federation and the Ferengi. So, since he senses that the Barzan are ready to sign with the Federation, Ral makes an agreement with the Ferengi captain to stage a mock attack on the wormhole. And Ral guesses that hostilities between the Federation and the Ferengi will cause the Barzan to sign with him. Now, the ploy works, but Troi's seen enough and she exposes Ral for this ploy. And moments later, Data and LaForge return and report that the other side of the wormhole is actually unstable, and therefore it's useless. So when the Chrysalians learn that they have purchased a worthless wormhole, they recall Ral for an explanation. And Ral apparently has learned his lesson, and he asks Deanna Troi to come with him to beat his conscience. But Troi says that she already has a job, and that's as counselor of the Enterprise. So Ral departs, and that's the end of the episode. Now, before this episode actually aired, it was getting quite a lot of flack, really, because the pre-airing hype was about a scene in which Troi beds an alien ambassador. And a lot of fans actually wrote letters outraged before it even aired to Michael Piller. But interestingly enough, nobody wrote after it aired, because perhaps they thought that they were going to take it even farther than they did in this particular episode. And Piller actually felt like this was one of the best scripts that he had, but he felt like it turned out disappointing, and he was very vague about it, but I'm guessing either the acting or the visuals or what have you. But he said that if you listen to the show and don't watch it, you can really have fun with it. So, for whatever reason, Piller was disappointed with the actual execution of it. Now, director Robert Shearer also enjoyed that experience because he got to work really close with Marina Sirtis, and she did a great job in this episode. He also points to her acting in The Loss as a great show where she goes a little bit further than Troi normally does with her character. And in that sense, I think it's really good. This is the first time that you really see Troi out of her usual element. She's not just on the bridge sensing something about an alien on another ship. You do sense that she's actually working as a counselor, and you even see her out of her job as a counselor and actually into civilian clothes and in a romance here. So it's nice to see in the third season other characters getting a lot more of some quality writing done. We've seen LaForge, as I commented on Booby Trap, how he got a good episode, and here Troi gets one, and that only continues with our characters as we go forward through this season and the following. So nice to see Troi here featured, and of course Marina Sirtis is very lovely, so I think a lot of the fans liked that anyway. Having said that, I don't think it's one of my favorite episodes. It's just noteworthy for that. But comment below what your opinions are about this. I don't know. I felt like this was okay, and I can't really quite put my finger on it. But I'll be interested in hearing what you guys think about it. Interestingly enough, too, the Ferengi, who unfortunately get left on the other side of the wormhole because they don't take LaForge and Data's advice to head back, the fate of them is kind of revealed in the Star Trek Voyager episode False Prophets, and it reveals the fate of them in the Delta Quadrant. So be sure and check that out too if you're interested in whatever happened to those two guys who got left there. Okay, that's all I've got for this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, guys.